Well, she's finally got some living legend points, and it's all down to the man himself. Callum, congratulations, taking down what is the UK's biggest pro quest. 59 players at Spellbound Games in London, and you had to go do it on the Pirate Mechanologist. Before we kind of get into the deck, you got some cool promos, of course. You win, inside a top 8, you get yourself a Swing Big Rainbow Foil, which looks absolutely epic, great reprint. You get yourself an overcrowded Cold Foil Extended Art. And for winning, not only do you get the prize of qualifying for the next Pro Tour, you also get a cheeky little gold foil. Well, what did you want?
We were hoping for a unicycle or something Puffin related, I suppose. But
Spitfire, maybe?
Yeah, that would be cool, but I know everyone's going to be jealous of this one, but we got...
Oh,
Bunker Beard.
That is a Bunker Beard. That is a Silver Age playable, my friend.
So I'm slightly happier about this than hey, we'll take the Living Legend points. That's the main prize.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned it a second ago, but these are the first recorded Living Legend points for Puffin. Congratulations, man. Listen, if you told me 6 months ago you would have been a mech player, I would have laughed in your face. But
all they had to do was remove aggressive Rune Blades from the format, and I thought I'll play the closest thing.
The closest thing to an aggressive Rune Blade in Puffin. Well, listen, without further ado, let's get into this deck tech. Give us a rundown of the deck that took you to first place of a 59 player Pro Quest.
So I'm going to yap for about the next 20-25 minutes, so lock in if you're Puffin fans, okay? So Puffin, Pirate Mech hero from High Seas. If you don't know what she does, she effectively taps herself to turn a gold into a golden cog, which you can crank, and the second time you crank every turn, you draw a card, which is the most powerful part of her ability. Don't make a lot of gold in this deck, only one card that does it, but when we do, that hero ability is pretty powerful.
Lovely Marvel one you got there.
100%.
Shout out to your early birthday present from fellow CupofTCG member Ryan.
Yeah, Mimba. So we've got Spitfire, which is the gun of choice in Classic Constructed. Blunderbuss, a bit more of a limited weapon.
Yep.
Shooting for free, can't turn it down really. When you got a couple of cogs, it's for 3, which kills Sawbones, so can't really complain about that.
Pretty good.
We've got Polly, can't separate Puffin from her companion. Polly basically saying, I'm half a card draw whenever your opponent doesn't kill her. Not the best into decks that can shock her out of the sky, but requiring the card investment from different decks can be really powerful. So this stuff never changes, and we'll go into the equipment now. We've only got one arm slot, which is Cogworks Tinkerings. On defense, makes a cog, combos really nicely with something else in the deck that we'll show later, as well as anything that requires cogs, basically. Tekla Foundry Heart, absolutely incredible chess piece, basically turning every blue into 4 resources, which curves really nicely in a lot of play patterns in the deck, and it blocks 2, and then another 1. So not getting that sort of effect much anymore nowadays.
I suppose this might be a little bit of spoilers as well, because this only works if you boosted, right?
Yeah, 100%. So it's a boost Puffin deck. Let's be real, boosting's pretty powerful, so we're going to be boosting.
We all like go again.
Unicycle, leg slot of choice in the deck. However, I didn't play it once yesterday. Play it into a lot of slow decks. However, the only slow deck I played against was Verdance, and you bring AB into that matchup. So I didn't play this. I was playing Achilles Accelerator instead, alongside Physitronic Model I for AB3. This card actually sometimes threatens lethal because you may not have an action point until you do, and you shoot your gun for lethal. So quite like Achilles in this deck, and Unicycle can be good, maybe pushes some Palantirs through, but that's why we play it in the slower matchups like your Guardians and things like that.
For anyone wondering, this card doesn't have text. It says AB2.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was never used in -IE, and it's not going to be used here.
Yeah, pretty much. So we've then got a few head slot options. You've got Balance of Justice, Crown of Providence, Crown of Dominion. Now everyone says Puffin is budget deck until you get to this bit and you say, sorry, these cards are quite expensive. But pick one of them and start with that, and before picking up the rest of the stuff. Balance of Justice really good in this format. Grave Your Bones, KO, Decilio, Prism, Syndra. So you play it in a lot of decks. Crown of Providence, big fan of the card in this deck. You get to arsenal cards like Sky Warden and say, I'll see you later, I'll draw something better. Crown of Dominion for slow decks. Again, I actually didn't play this yesterday at all either, but if I had found a Florian or a Guardian, I would have done. So good card. So the gold plus Poly equals a 6-card hand once a game, which can't really be turned down, to be honest. Now the card that I did play a lot yesterday that was absolute overperformer was Adaptive Plating, playing it in the boot slot into aggressive decks alongside Foundry Heart, Balance of Justice, or Crown of Providence, and Tinkerings, basically says I have a huge fridge and I'm not going to give Syndra the space to trigger a load of mom triggers unless I wanted to, basically. So yeah, adaptive plating, really, really good card for me yesterday. You've always got cogs to galvanize, so yeah, great stuff.
Nice. So that's our equipment suite, along with, of course, the weapon, poly, everything you could need. Let's get into the real meat and potatoes of the deck. Show us the actual deck itself. I know you kind of mentioned that it's potentially not tons of new things. Anyone you want to give a shout out?
Yeah, so this deck is heavily inspired by min-maxing Fab's video they released earlier this week, as well as I believe they work closely with Emmanuel. The deck that they made seems really, really solid, and I was hitting a few roadblocks with Puffin, so took some inspiration from them, mixed it with a few things that I really like the adaptive plating and a couple of other cards I'll show later. But yeah, I think they've got the main game plans for this deck pretty sussed out in this format, so not going to take too much credit in that sense. Cog in the Machine, we'll start with this. About as good of a power card as you can ask for in this deck, does absolutely everything you want it to do. Replaces itself because you get to crank twice, gets you to 2 action points. Like I said, draws a card, can put it on the bottom of the deck, so it can go infinite in theory. And making golden cogs is really powerful in conjunction with Sky Warden and stuff. 2 action points is really, really powerful in this deck. Getting to shoot the gun extra, or 2 big ships that might not always have go again, is really good. Golden cogs fueling cards like Palantir, which is I think the ship that everyone kind of knows Puffin for at this point. However, in my opinion, not the most powerful ship in the deck.
Okay.
Can threaten equipment. Land 3 of these against Verdance, there's a chance that you might even get your Storm Striders or stuff like that, if they stupidly block with something else another time. But some people playing backup protocol red to be able to play more than 3 of these, but I'm trying some different things. So Palantir, great card, closes out games really, really nicely. Dovetail, the ultimate damned if you do, damned if you don't card, really hard to block. 1 for 5 is a good rate, 1 for 8 is a better rate, 1 for 7 go again is an even better rate. So when it hits and untaps all your cogs, the card feels kind of broken, to be honest. Speaking of broken, Cogwork Zeppelin is the card of the deck, the card of the day yesterday for me. Tapping a cog to effectively gain you an action point. Sometimes the crank even means you draw a card, you get to shoot your gun as well. Tapping the cog turns into Backspin Thrust unlocked, so the combination of these cards together into aggro matchups is really, really powerful. Backspin Thrust only on 2 of in the main deck, but we board in the 3rd one when we up the deck count a bit. We're gonna go into the boost cards now. So yeah, look out for these cards. They're crazy cards and people don't know how to block them. So Throttle, only 2 of, slightly more expensive, but floating the 1 resource to put into the Techno Foundry Heart is really powerful. Going Throttle into a 2-cost ship is really easy in this deck. 6 damage, 6 go again. It's Dread Screamer, but better in my opinion. So
Dread Screamer with less steps.
Yeah, can't really complain. 1-cost boost cards, Zipper Hit, got the reds and the yellows because it's a good rate. Sometimes you want to activate your Foundry Heart before resolving cards like Coggy Machine, so you get to do Zipper Hit, pitching a blue, activating Foundry Heart, doing all sorts of weird sequencing things with Foundry Heart, unlocked by these boost cards. Fast and Furious does absolutely everything you could ask it to do. When it's banished off the top, you get value from it, putting counters on your cogs, keeping them around for longer. 0 for 4 because you're pretty much always cranking. Sometimes if you've had a game where you haven't really needed to use Poly, you can threaten lethal with breakpoints by just activating Poly to get this up to 4. Pretty good card, to be honest. Speaking of 0 for 4s, 0 to 60 and Soup Up. Not going to talk too much about them. This one, 0 cost boost, 0 for 4, can't really complain. Soup Up can be 4 offensively or defensively. Super great card. The Soup Up Go Again is unlocked by items being destroyed, so you're always kind of having cogs leave the arena at the beginning of turns, and you're also losing your breaking gold for your hero ability. So that is really powerful with when you get to activate your Puffin hero ability, unlocking your Soup Up, drawing a card if you've cranked twice, etc. Now, to crank twice, we need cogs, which we'll show later, but we're also going to be playing 2 Boom Grenade. I was originally just playing these into aggro decks alongside some heists and things, but trying something different. This is some inspiration from the min-maxing Fab video that they released earlier this week. Boom Grenades into everything. and I was expecting this to not really work. Decks like Earth Heroes being able to block it out, but when you've got cards like Dovetail and breakpoints like 0 to 60s, pumping cards like Zeppelins, it's really hard for decks to block.
Palantirs to effectively
Guarantee,
pumping up to 6s.
Yeah,
like
destroy defending cards to guarantee the boom grenade hit. So great card, really great card. Golden Skywarden is probably the unsung broken card of Puffin. When this card blocks for 4, 5, 6 and makes you a load of gold, fueling the rest of your game, it can be really, really powerful. Obviously not something you want to draw off the top with a Puffin hero ability activation, but the ceiling of this card is absolutely silly. I had one game in the ProQuest yesterday where my Syndra opponent presented Blaze Headlong for 5 off the back of the Fire Tenant something, whatever it's called.
That's actually it.
Yeah, and thought, this is going to get 2 cards or at least armor to block the Mom trigger, and I managed to block Skywarden, galvanizing 2 golden cogs and a copper cog, so for 5, fueling the rest of my game with the gold as well. So crazy card. We need cogs. We need to be able to crank. So we're going to play 2, 3, 4,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
9 copper cogs.
Jesus wept.
Believe it or not, there's actually more of these in the deck than just in the sideboard. So 9 copper cogs, a necessary evil. Each one of these is half a card draw. They're also blues. They don't block, but when you get to go first and plonk a couple on the board, you fuel the rest of your game. They die, they unlock soup ups, they get galvanized by your galvanize effects. They're great.
Yeah.
Really clever move of LSS to make these unlimited, because if you could only play 3, this deck would be terrible.
Before we move on from that, right, you mentioned, we've got 9 of these in the main, you've got a couple still on the side. You've also got your boom grenades, which don't block. So you're on 11 cards that don't block in the main deck.
Yep.
People might call you a maniac. Is that ever kind of a downside, or is it because these cogs are playable that actually it doesn't actually cause any issues?
So the worst case scenario is you draw 3 or 4 cogs in a hand, right? But the reality is 2 cogs equals a card draw. So you might fix your hand by playing out 2 of the cogs. Because they're blue, if you've drawn 3 of them, at least when you draw a big ship off of 2
you've still
cogs,
got a blue to play for
them. You are a very aggressive deck with this boost package and these Zeppelins and these on hits. So the no blocks don't matter quite so much. When you're presenting AB3, they're still 3 defensively. You can cut a couple depending on if you go first or second into some aggro decks, but the cards are really, really important, and they're good stuff, especially when they stick around for a few turns. So nice. I wouldn't cut them.
Cool.
Cogworks Workshop, again, sort of necessary evil. More cogs, one of the best things you can see on turn 0. Your cogs stick around for longer. It's good stuff. 1 cost being a bit meh, but if it was 0 cost, it'd be pretty pushed. So. My own source. Some Puffin players are playing this, some aren't. I'm playing Pinion Sentry. I think the card in combination with Cogworks Tinkerings is really, really powerful. So the line basically goes, you've probably heard this already, but Cogworks Tinkering makes a golden cog. Pinion Sentry then taps that cog to make another one. Now if you crank them both, you get to draw a card on defense, which is really powerful. So Pinion Sentry basically being a free 3 block, and then if your opponent goes to another chain link and you drew a Skywarden in that hand, this gets to block for 4 as well, which I did on stream if you want to check that out. So really, really crazy combination of cards, and I think it is powerful enough to risk drawing it off of a Puffin activation. Some matchups you're playing Crown of Providence anyway, so put a block card in your arsenal. Most people won't tell you to do that, but you can if you're on Crown of Providence. So.
Too risky to go to 3 though.
Yeah, you don't want to see 2 in a hand. Although if you do see 2 in a hand and you've got a cog, you can block with them both and draw a card. But the card doesn't do too much, and you don't want to draw it. You don't want to draw it off a Puffin, really.
Fair enough.
Sky Skimmer is definitely something that I've taken from min-maxing Fab. I was playing Blue Zeppelin in this slot. 2 for 4. It's too easily blocked. People can just put 2 cards in front of it or D-react if you've not got the cogs to pay for it. And Sky Skimmer unlocking Backspin Thrust a little bit more. So, good card. Super is, obviously we've spoken about it already, only on 2 blues for the soup ups because it's not for offensively, it's only for defensively. Can be a nice extender, and it's blue. So, and the last blue of the deck that we're playing is 2 Throttle.
Oh, it's back.
It's back, yeah. 2 for 4. 4's not the best in Fab at the moment because people are playing a million D-Reacts, but like I said, floating that extra resource to unlock Foundry Heart basically means that the 2 cost is effectively 1 cost in some hands, so a breakpoint at the end of the game is often still a breakpoint, so can't complain.
Absolutely. Cool, so this is
60 cards.
the 60, but it's not all the cards.
So this is the 60 I play into aggro, basically, when I
Right.
don't need to board up, when I'm not at risk of fatiguing. This is a 60 I board into aggro, and a mixture of equipment depending on what matchup we're playing against. But we do have some sideboard stuff, and more often than not, the sideboard cards go on top of the 60 cards that we're presenting.
Sorry, you're going above 60 in an aggro deck?
We're boosting.
Be boosting.
So when we are milling through our deck via the boost mechanic, we've got to be careful not to run out of gas, and the way to do that is just put more cards in. So quite often yesterday I was playing 68 cards in a lot of matchups against some decks that can fatigue you. If it goes that way, you play 64. But yeah, so we're playing the 3rd Backspin Thrust alongside 2 Sky Skimmers and a 3rd cog to get up to a 10th cog, sorry, not a 3rd cog, we've got way more than that. A 10th cog to get up to 64 cards. That's the sort of game plan when we go to that number. And then when we go even more, we put in another cog because we're trying to keep our crank consistency the same, our blue consistency the same.
So that goes up to 11.
And that's 11 cogs. So alongside the backspins, the Sky Skimmers, we've got a couple more untappers in the Tighten the Screws. This is kind of the new hot Puffin tech pioneered by the guys that we mentioned earlier. I like the card, it's good. I don't really like 3 of them. I don't really love 3 Sky Skimmer either. There are turns where the card's a bit bricky without the cogs to fund it going wide, but the combination of Sky Skimmers, backspin thrusts, Tighten the Screws, etc. really help you go wide and present damage without boosting away your deck at the same time. So it's sort of like a separate attack package, and unlocking backspin thrust is always good because the card's really powerful.
Bit of a necessary evil so you don't fatigue yourself, right?
Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't really want to board in a load of extra boost cards because that's not really helping you not fatigue, if you see what I mean.
Are any of your boost cards ever coming out?
No. Too powerful. Too powerful to unlock Tekla Foundry Heart, and just free go again, free damage, so can't really turn them down, to be honest.
Pretty good.
The last 2 cards on the list are 2 Jolly Bludger, because I will not disrespect Gravy Bones, because you get to steal his gold, you get to bring them into the Dio mirror, you get to bring them into, believe it or not, the Puffin mirror, which is actually what I faced in the finals of a 59 player progress yesterday. Me and the only other Puffin player in the room making it all the way to the finals, so shout out to Eric, he did a great job, had a little bit of a tougher pathway to the finals than me, I'll be honest, but we got the mirror higher seed, so I got to pick turn order.
You talked about a couple of matchups that you included that in, but you didn't mention Verdance.
Yeah, so I actually played a game against Verdance yesterday where they presented 71 cards and started playing out health potions, and I knew I was presenting a Jolly Bludger in my deck just to get up to the 68 cards, because we do that when we go to 68 cards. So I was hoping not to boost away my Jolly Bludger, and I didn't. I drew it, I tucked it in Arsenal, and stole 2 health pots on the way to the top 8. So my Verdance opponent wasn't very impressed by that, but look, that's what the card does. So thanks, ICs. Get another powerful card. Jolly Bludger could be at 3 depending on what you think your meta is. A lot of Dios or something like that, but against Dio, 2 of these can swap in for 2 yellow Zeppelins and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That is Puffin.
That is the 80.
Again, like I said, it's not, the majority of it is not my idea. The majority of it is the min-maxing Fabs and Emmanuel's brew, including a few things of my own that I really like. But yeah, someone's got to pilot it, and someone's got to get it to its first at all points.
And it was you. I'm going to overlay the group chat message of you the day before being like, can't believe I'm going to win a Progress tomorrow. And then my instant response of, yeah, I'm not believing that either. So yeah, egg on my face. So of course this is the 80. Deck looks sick. As a previous mech player all the way back from Dash IE, really cool to see you on mech, and especially on an aggro mech like this. Give us a rundown of the games that you played yesterday, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not just your 4 games, your 3 games inside of your top 8. You've got to go through that Swiss to be able to, well, win out from there. What was your overall standing in Swiss?
So we had a pretty expected meta distribution of heroes. I like to think. I believe Syndra was the most represented, then Verdance, then Gravy, what you'd expect. My 6 Swiss rounds, because it was 6 CC rounds before the top 8 with a 59 player pro quest.
Yeah, that'll do it to you.
Yeah. I had round 1 Syndra, which was against the local. Good player, John. I just got it over the line. It's a good matchup for us, I think. Part of the reason why I'm playing Puffin is because I believe the deck does really well into Syndra. Adaptive plating in the legs and them not being able to block Zeppelins and things like that basically means you race them down and block Mom triggers at the same time. So good matchup for me. Round 2, I had Verdance, which is a tough matchup, presenting AB3. My opponent not super familiar with how to block Puffin, so we got that one as well. Round 3 was against another Verdance, Jason Rolfe, well-known player, great player. Didn't get that one, so went to 2-1 after round 3. Round 4 was against Dio, another matchup that I think we're not too bad into, especially considering you've got a big fridge plus Bodge in case they do Spark of Genius Cerebellum stuff, as well as Jolly Bludgers to try and steal their equipment as well. So we got that one. Then round 5, I believe I had another Verdance. So currently we're Syndra, Verdance, Dio, Verdance.
Jesus. Got
that Verdance, that's the one where we stole the health potions. And then round 6 was another Syndra. So again, Syndra's, Verdances and Dios. It's kind of what you'd expect from this format. Dodged Gravy Bones all the way through Swiss. 1 Gravy Bones made it into the top 8 and was on the other half of the bracket. So managed to dodge that one as well. But the other Puffin player in the room took that one out, so thanks to him, we didn't have to play against Gravy Bones because I don't really enjoy that matchup. And in top 8, my quarters game was against Syndra, my semis game was against Syndra, so look, decks that I want to see, and then my finals game, of course, against a Puffin mirror, and I got to go first. Presented Palantir on turn 0 with no cogs, so we got a little bit of their equipment. They presented Unicycle, I presented Adaptive Plating because I'm aware it's an aggro mirror. And I think the extra armor sort of got me over the edge in that matchup.
You're on Crown of Providence while they're on balance as well, right?
Yeah, so I wasn't cracking gold. I wasn't given the opportunity to crack balance. They stole one of my golds with their bludgers, but it cost them their unicycle to do it. And my fridge was just helped me get it over the line. But yeah, a lot of aggro decks, few Verdances, definitely an element of knowledge missing from some people on how to play against Puffin, how to block Puffin. Sometimes it's impossible, sometimes it's a catch-22 with things like Dovetail and late combat chain link Zeppelins.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the deck.
If you block early, you're punished if they don't do anything. If you block late, well, you're punished because they probably sent a hell of a lot of boost cards against you just for pure damage. You've got your 5s, your 4s, your 6s. I mean, your 4s that don't cost anything. Hell, you've got tons of those. You combine those with your boom grenades as well that stink, like kind of slink on in towards like the end of the game or even midway through to be able to draw out cards. I mean, the deck looks very strong, and now that you've won a Pro Quest, you can't play anymore. So I'm taking this because I have a weird feeling my Florian pivot is kind of dead in the water at this point.
Someone's got to play it.
Yeah, very true.
I think the secret might be out. Puffin's not a bad deck at all, and especially when people aren't super familiar with how to play against her, you can really get some extra points. So,
absolutely. Yeah, nice. Puffin. Thank you very much, Callum. I know a lot of people were asking for this. Hopefully we get this out nice and quick. Anything else from you before we wrap up? Lovely. Well, from us here, a CupofTCG, that logo there. Thank you very much for watching. Congratulations again, Callum. Unlucky on your bunker beard. I'll see if I can take her to victory and pull something better.
Yeah, get a better goal for.
Yeah, real. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon. Peace.